hosts, the Bay Area Brawler, Skyler, Greenberg, and your Colonial Champion, Sean McCarty. Welcome to the Court Martial Podcast!
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, to the Court Martial Podcast. No matter where you are all over the globe, there is one thing that unites us all, and that is the lovely sunshine and rainbows, no toxicity environment known as the internet. I am your Colonial Champion Sean McCarty, doing nothing but bringing good vibes and positive energy no matter where you are. I am happy that you are here with us as we all immerse ourselves in cages and then into smaller cages that have Plex bulletproof glass in them, and wait a few minutes and write things on them, and then come out and do some stuff for a little while. But speaking of people who do some stuff for a little while, we got my co-host, the man of the hour, the man with the power, the man too sweet to be sour. He's the man who wants to be so prepared for the role that he puts in that he will do what he needs to do, which is his research during the show itself. But that's because this man is more meta than the Yu-Gi-Oh template. Skyler Greenberg, how you doing, buddy?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little hungry. I think I should go to Outback Steakhouse tonight.
Yeah, which was said by Austin Theory to an ambivalent boo, but we'll get to that. It's Elimination Chamber 2024, Perth, Australia. The last premium live event before we get to the goods, which is, of course, WrestleMania Night 1 and 2. 4 matches on the card, 4 hours long. Skyler, your thoughts of Elimination Chamber?
I love how you're not even pretending to acknowledge that there was a match on the pre-show.
I saw that who it involved, and I said, you know what? No, I'm good. I'm good. Would you like to tell the people what it was, at least, while I go and fish out our other third member of this group? I forgot he even did shit.
Well, the pre-show match that was happening was the Kabuki Warriors versus Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell for the Women's Tag Team Championships.
And how'd that go?
Again, I didn't watch it. Why would I watch it? The Japanese ladies.
Oh, okay. Of course. Keep that whole momentum going for Bailey and Io Sky.
But remember, Indy Hartwell is from Australia, so, hometown thing, something, whatever thing.
Better her to lose and be the hometown person than the main event. But let's get into, before we introduce, man number 3, as he will now perpetually forever be known, your overall thoughts of Elimination Chamber, Scott?
It was a show. I don't think WWE put out its best efforts, in all honesty. They've had better shows. They've had better international shows. And this kind of felt like the placeholder. It was basically like Roadblock. Remember that pay-per-view? Or Speed Bump or whatever it was? That's pretty much all it was.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this pay-per-view was not great. I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was not great. It was. There was one do I even say really good match? There was one quality match on the card, and it was kind of by process of elimination because it was the only singles match on the card, which is why I liked it. I think that Elimination Chamber is a very, very tired concept. And at this point, I really think it needs to go by the wayside of a bunch of these other gimmick pay-per-view shows and just let this match concept be when it calls for it. Even if there was only one chamber match on this show, I still think I wouldn't have really gotten majorly involved in it, because I think even the angles that they do in those chambers are all used and tired now. Like, you can predict when something's going to happen when they take forever and a day to close the damn door after someone gets eliminated. It's obvious now. And I think that really hurts the show and hurts the concept. The bonus points of it being in Australia helped keep the crowd mostly into it. But Samoans can't not main event pay-per-views.
But I mean, okay. I'm not gonna get into that discussion because Samoa Joe's gonna come at me and then just choke me out.
Well, he's the AEW champion, so it seems like there's no escape no matter what the situation is. But speaking of not escaping someone no matter what the situation is, we got one more man to introduce to this group. That would be this man. Roll his intro.
It's time for JoshAgeddon's Notes of the Week. It's time for his Notes of the Week. Oh, yeah.
Good day, mates. Get it? Because I want to mate with the two of you. He's talking about you, Skyler.
I'm good.
We haven't done this bit in a while. Hey, Skyler, how does it feel to be absolutely feverized again? That's a word.
Okay.
That's an invented
Is he
word.
trying to do the gimmick I have where I come up with a random word and you both laugh at it because it's so ridiculous and funny?
Well, you do it unintentionally, which makes it funny. This just feels forced. This
You're ruining the sacredosity of this, Joshua. Like, come on, man.
He really is trying to take your gimmick and kill it. And he just might.
Editor's note. Bitch, I've been using thieverized for years. Decades even.
But more to the point, is this JoshAgeddon's notes on WWE Elimination Chamber 2024? Oh, this is. I'm sorry, I read that incorrectly. Seeing as how the five...
Oh, okay, now we're getting you mixed up.
Oh, yes, well, yeah, that's what y'all do to me. You make me irrational. Seeing as how the five-head knuckle daggers that run WWE are trying to pivot back to sanity after that disastrous segment on SmackDown, where The Rock butt fucked us all, we're basically giving this company one last chance. They are on ice so thin that the entire body positivity movement absolutely despises it. As for Chamber, I enjoyed the show overall, so let's get down to the brass tacks here. And we start with the ladies' Chamber.
Well, hold on. Before we begin, can we do a quick news of the week segment that won't be quick, but we'll try to make it quick anyways?
We have to, because now that JoshAgeddon's gotten an intro, and Sky, we never really made an intro for you because you're the co-host and you're just as important as me. You have a segment, though, and you have certain things that you wanted to address about this card. So roll intro number 2.
Coming straight to you from the Golden Gate Garage, this is the Wrestle News with Skyler Greenberg.
Yep, news of the week. Brawler, Skyler Greenberg at your service. Do you want to know the reason why? I want to begin the news of the week segment because before we can even talk about this show, we need to talk about what went into the show. Because there were a lot of changes.
Yeah, so you said that there were quite a few matches that were supposed to be on this card and weren't for a number of reasons.
Yes, going back to a couple of months, which kind of shows that Triple H is going into the long-term planning thing instead of Vince McMahon's changing up, pal. We got to make some good shit out there. Do this,
Which is what he tends to do.
Right, but originally this show was actually supposed to have 8 matches, and it went down to 5 for various reasons. I will give as of right now. If Seth Rollins hadn't gotten injured in that match against Jinder Mahal in January, he would have wrestled Bronson Reed, who is a hometown guy.
He wouldn't have. Seth would have retained the belt, I would almost guarantee, in that situation.
Right, but it's still like the way to give the hometown guy some shine. But again, he also couldn't make this show anyways because he was helping his wife give birth to their first child, which is cool.
I guess that's fair. It's nice, though. It's nice that WWE is like, you know what? Okay, go be there to see the birth of your kid. That was not the wrestling business of old. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, no, it was not. Now, of course, one Mr. Punk of the CM variety got injured in the Royal Rumble match, and had he had been healthy, he would have taken Drew McIntyre's spot in the Chamber match and won the Chamber match to go on and face Rollins at Mania.
Which felt like the way that they were trying to do it from the start, and then, you know, Punk's triceps are about as fragile and crispy as a crab rangoon, so...
As a person who worked at Panda Express for years and years and years, I agree. but the man who made that tricep into a crab rangoon, Drew McIntyre, won the Elimination Chamber match.
You know, it's funny because he did kind of do the triangle folding thing when he raked up the arms. Anyway.
and also, like, and got himself out of a situation where he would have had a match against Cody Rhodes. They did have that match on the Raw before they went to Australia.
Which Drew won, which makes him the first person other than Roman Reigns that has pinned Cody. In a very long
since his return.
Yeah, since his return from his injury. So that, I mean...
Well, no, since his return to WWE, like, that's how long it's been.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Well, they've been very careful with him, thankfully and gratefully. They've been very careful with him. And...
I'm also kind of curious if they would have had that finish here.
I don't know. Because I think a lot got changed. A lot of that equation got thrown when The Rock shoehorned himself into it. So I'm not sure about that. That's a good question.
Right, which, by the way, this is the first official thing. I know we did a Super Jam session about it lightly, but we never really had the chance to talk about that segment at the press conference where they pivoted back to Cody Rhodes after those backlash to The Rock putting himself in the main event.
Yeah.
So now you've had some time to think about it, watch what WWE's done. What do you think of the pivot that they made?
I don't really think... We've said that WWE before said, when WWE's done things like this, we have said before, like, I don't see how WWE doesn't pivot from this, and then they just didn't because Vince just was like, fuck you, you're going to take what I give you. This is the first time that WWE has openly been like, all right, you were right. Let's just play around with this. If this is what you guys wanted to do, we'll go this direction. We'll figure this shit out. Just bear with us. And that kind of reaction to what the fans, you know, presented to them when they made this pitch, I think is really a sign that the times have changed in the WWE, and that they're willing to make these kinds of moves and to pivot, change their whole plans to re-accommodate, you know, what the fans are really calling for. You know, because they've said for so many years, it's about you, the people. We haven't been listening to you. This is the first time I have truly felt like they have, in fact, listened adequately. That being said, The Rock is lame, and it's not surprising that he gets the boos that he does. I even thought that his shtick when he came back and cut a pretty much cookie-cutter Rock heel promo, he doesn't fit. He's lame. He doesn't overshadow anybody. He's lame. Because I've seen it before. I've seen the catchphrases. I've heard all the same spiel, the same shtick. The only thing that's different about him is the amount of Trembolone sandwiches he's eating.
Are you accusing The Rock of something?
Never. I would never accuse The Rock of something. But I am...
Okay.
All I'm saying is that the man enjoys sandwiches. What is in those sandwiches is up to anybody's business. But it's... To me, I'm happy...
May I get my thoughts?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me just finish this. The whole thing is like... I'm thankful that they took the direction that they took with this. I'm glad that they weren't stubborn enough to just keep on trucking, which gives me optimism. But now, because they did this whole thing with the, you know, getting the company heat, they have to stick the landing. They have to stick the landing on this. Otherwise, I'm not going to be impressed. Go ahead, Scott.
And that's kind of the thing, is that now that The Rock is inserted into this adds a new wrinkle to the Cody and Roman match. Sorry, I'm getting indigestion. I don't know why. when I said The Rock's name,
does.
like
That's
I
what
couldn't
The Rock
talk.
has done. But...
I was about to say his name again. I couldn't talk. Damn it, Rock.
See, this is what he's done. You take one guy out, you put one problematic guy out, you put another problematic guy in, and your mouth is as good as the $7 that he shoves into it.
Okay, Ted DiBiase, thank you. Anyways, my point is that I think with the way that this is going, at least this is a new interesting thing to Roman and Cody. But now, if The Rock costs Cody Rhodes the title at Mania, the amount of heat, and not the good kind of heat, the, well, fuck this company heat, will kill the company.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as kill the company, but I think it's going to really dissuade people from wanting to see who beats Roman after all.
Well, that's the thing, that it kills the goodwill that the company has built up. And that's despite the fact of everything that has happened with Vince and Kennedy McMahon.
Well, and the other part of that is I bet you that the fans would have put up with it had they not done the angle that they did on that SmackDown where Cody basically abdicated the role to The Rock. Had they not done that angle and done a finish like that at Mania, I think there would still be enough people to go, okay, they're still doing it. I think it wouldn't ruin everything yet. There'd be a lot of very frustrated fans, but they could still benefit from it. Now that they've already lost a good portion of that goodwill with the audience, for them not to go through with giving Cody the title now is just saying, we're going to give you the same middle finger that Vince gave you, but it's going to take longer to get there for us to do it. And that's going to deter a lot of people from wanting to see the outcome. And they may lose some weekly ratings and lose a good number of people in the process. I don't think AEW will gain them, but WWE will lose them.
Right, and that's kind of like the point, is that the WWE, as Joshua has said, is walking a very fine line. They have to stick this landing, as to your point. Otherwise, they lose the goodwill of people, and no one will trust Triple H, because they'll be like, the one chance we had. We were willing to forgive last year, kind of, because we knew that Vince was the one that was calling the shot, ultimately.
It still was
but this year,
call.
But oh, no, that's the thing, is that we can pin at least last year on Vince, and they have that out.
Good point.
They don't have an out this year.
Right.
Especially because they tried to do the Rock shoehorn thing.
Yeah, and that, but again, the converse of that is that at least they recognized when they got the reaction they got, oh shit, maybe we can't do this. Maybe this ain't going to go the way we thought it is. And then they got to work trying to pivot. Like, when was the last time WWE openly pivoted within 3 days of them getting a very piss poor reaction to what they booked?
I mean, the last time that they pivoted was with Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan, and that still took a month or so after it originally happened.
That took a year. That took a full calendar year almost. No, it was SummerSlam, right?
Wait, which time are we talking with Daniel Bryan?
The 2013-2014 moment. Because that one, I mean, with that started at SummerSlam, but it really, I guess, it was the Rumble when Batista won the Rumble and got to there. So I guess it was just really amplified during WrestleMania season. But for 10 months, for a good year, they were keeping, they made that story, whether they intended to or not, that he was almost as good, but was never going to really actually get what he should get.
I mean, at least when they screwed him out of the title at SummerSlam, it was with the idea that eventually he'll come back and win it.
But they still had no plans of doing that at WrestleMania, because they were genuinely going to do Batista versus Randy Orton as if that was going to be the main event that drew the most money.
I mean, look at the 2015 Royal Rumble and Roman Reigns winning it when nobody wanted to see Roman Reigns winning it. And then they went ahead and tried to have Daniel Bryan put over Roman Reigns and say, it's okay, you can root for him. And nobody wanted to watch Roman Reigns versus Triple H at WrestleMania 31.
And that was 32. And the fans...
Was it 32?
Well, no, that's what...
Oh, yeah, 31 was versus Brock. 32 was against Triple H.
Yeah. Well, and the thing was, we were talking before when we were doing Guess the Card about WrestleMania 31's build being so astronomically bad. That's where it began, was with that Roman Reigns win at the Rumble, where the last three guys were him, Kane, and Big Show, which also didn't help. I think people would have accepted Roman Reigns winning that Rumble more if it wasn't so obvious with the two guys that were in there with him last, because they weren't going to give that to Big Show, and they weren't going to give that to Kane, and we knew damn well.
And then the last minute thing with Rusev coming in,
which had no point and served no purpose. And yeah, that whole build was a whole can of ass. Or the John Cena 2013 Rumble too.
That one wasn't as bad, only because it was either that or Ryback. So,
well, when you put it that way, I guess that's fair.
But anyways, I want to get to another point before we talk about this show, and that's the tribalism that is going on right now and the discourse about this show. We're going to review this show, and we're going to give our thoughts on it, even though we both kind of agree, all three of us, that was kind of a middling show. I think that's fair, right?
Yeah, it's meh.
But the thing that keeps happening online are these people that just continuously are saying, oh my God, the WWE didn't sell out Perth, Australia.
They still got 52,000 people into the building.
For an 80,000 seat arena, they weren't going to fill it up.
Well, and 50,000 is still a good number, man. It's like, you think Tony Khan would be drawing 50,000 people in Australia right now?
I don't know.
Be honest.
I actually don't know.
Do you really think that Tony Khan right now could get 50,000 people into that same building? And think about what the card was that they proposed to Perth, Australia. This is, by all intents and purposes, no disrespect to Rhea Ripley, a B show at best that they gave, and they still drew 50,000+ people into the building. Could Tony's top guys do that?
Probably not.
Probably not. Case closed. Sit down, rat-faced basement dweller. Drink your Mountain Dew and go complain on Discus.
On Discus?
Yeah, that's the comment section platform. So like any of these dirt sheet sites, they all use Discus as the comment hub. And that's where these rat-faced people all go and grovel about their sad, pudgy virginity. Then they pee into a gallon jug and set it next to the 4 other pee-filled gallon jugs because they didn't feel like getting up that morning. As the great O'Shea Jackson once said, IWCD's nuts.
Now here's the thing though, is that like people are saying like AEW had a bigger show at Wembley, but let's talk about this for a second, okay? Because I want to make some very important points about this. If I have the floor for a minute,
please, by all means.
Let's not forget that yes, AEW had a great number that they went to Wembley with, but that Tony Khan paid to go to Wembley. He personally paid in order to use Wembley as an arena. Do you know how much money the WWE spent to go to Australia and rent the arena?
Not a lot.
The answer is 0. Now, of course, they have to pay for shipping and handling of all the stuff, including the chamber being stolen by pirates, which was a whole other story. But they did not have to pay a cent for the marketing and advertising. Australia did all of that. Do you know another event that WWE did that they didn't have to pay much for?
The Puerto Rican one?
Backlash Puerto Rico. Because the Puerto Rico travel. Because Puerto Rico was the one that did all the advertising. What's another show that they did They didn't have to do much paying for in order to have them come there.
Well, speaking of backlash, Puerto Rico kind of looks like one I've got in my lower left side. Anyway, I'm guessing Clash at the Castle.
Exactly. The Wales Tourist Organization.
I think I see where you're going for
WWE
this, guy.
Huh?
I think I'm catching up what you're putting down.
Right, and what are two shows that are coming up, one in France and one in Berlin, that WWE is doing? Oh yeah, Backlash in France, Bash at Berlin.
And guess how much they're going to spend on the advertising there?
Probably not that much, because they're going to do all the advertising.
Yeah. They'll probably send the promotional poster out to all these people, and then they're just going to run it on their shows, get people onto their programs, the local radio and all that jazz, to get up together and to go, hey, look at us. And then people are going to flock to WWE. And the fact that they're laughing at WWE because they couldn't fill an 80,000 seat arena with their B stars or some of their A stars, but don't include the biggest ones in action. It's funny. It's just funny how desperately AEW fans grasp at these kind of straws to make their point as if they have any sort of relevancy anymore. I genuinely wonder if WCW in 2000 and 2001 had the level of internet that we do now, if the kind of wrestling fan would be very close to the same.
It's the same breed of people that just are hanging on to the hopeism that they can, like...
Hopeism! I'm pretty sure that has to do with the Native American Sky. I don't think that has anything to do. I'm pretty... See, this is what you do that JoshAgeddon cannot. This is why this gimmick will perpetually be your gimmick. I'm sorry, Sky. Again, they're smoking the hopeism. Yes, I agree.
They're smoking the hopeism. And do you know the thing that is currently going on around AEW, the buzz that is going around AEW?
Yeah.
4 clips from a recent collision that included Billy Gunn giving a favor to somebody who took the bump and then proceeded to take a clothesline bump over the top rope, except he didn't get clothesline. He just fell down and got up and got clothesline by magical air. The clip of Max Caster forgetting his rap mid-entrance. The clip of Dax Harwood wrestling somebody and them messing up horribly. And then the 4th clip of, and I didn't send this one to you, Sean, because you would have lost your mind. Penta and Orange Cassidy giving each other 3 consecutive Canadian destroyers.
I'd be upset about it if I haven't already seen that 16 times. It's like,
again, I just want to point out that there is no buzz with AEW except for Sasha Banks coming in and except for Okada coming in, which I legitimately admit Sasha Banks is a draw and Okada is also a draw of some level. But the problem that they're going to have is the law of diminishing returns, because what's going to happen once they get there, Tony Khan's not going to know how to book them past the first night.
Well, that you kind of just said the point that I was about to say, where like nobody is more over in AEW than the first night they get there. Or the day they leave. Nobody when they're actually in AEW matters or is different or cared for in any way by Captain Action Figure himself. And
need we say more about Adam Copeland, who was a big deal when he come in, and it's nothing right now.
I don't even know what he's doing. I couldn't even tell you who he's fighting or why he's fighting people or what his thing is. You know, it's like...
He recently lost a match via shenanigans to Daniel Garcia.
Yeah.
And Daniel Garcia will be wrestling Christian at the pay-per-view.
You know, I just, at this point, you got to ask yourself, is my dignity worth sacrificing just so I could play around with my friends and forget how to wrestle? Like, literally, it's like everyone in AEW gets worse at wrestling. Even the veterans who know how to do it, they all get worse at wrestling. It's like FTR right now. We were talking about this in the chat. FTR, I could not give a single shit what they're doing. And I love FTR, but I could not give a fuck what they're doing right now. Because this is what AEW does. They get everybody to this level of complete irrelevancy where you don't want to watch the show to find out what they're doing. You don't want to look up results to see what they're doing. And then when you see what they're doing, you are embarrassed to see them in that situation. It makes nobody look better. And then they're like, oh, lol, WWE can't sell out Perth, Australia. When was the last time that you filled half of an arena that you've booked?
I think we rest our case.
Yeah. Sit down, son.
With that in mind, now let's talk about this show.
Let's move on. Let's get to but we start with the Lady Chambe. And the first thing that I noticed, Sky, was that we got them rules. Were you happy to see rules?
Yes, although they've changed the rules a lot.
Go on.
They didn't include any of the timers. They've officially given up on we're going to wrestle for 5 minutes, and then every 3 minutes somebody's going to come in like, we're not going to keep track of that shit.
They're like, the pod could open at any moment. Okay. Well, if the pod could open at any moment, then why give the countdown to timer? Which they had a difficult time actually putting in the right place on the screen in relation to the audience at large. They had quite a few issues with that. I forget what his real name is, but the man who I have called Dungaree, because I think his last name's Gene.
Lee Fitting.
Lee Fitting, that's right. Lee Fitting Jeans, Mr. Dungaree himself. So, yeah, so they couldn't quite get that deco right all night. And by the way, I hated that Slim Jim logo. I thought it just made it look very confusing as to what the number we were trying to read. But Bianca comes in first. Then in comes the trapezius pterodactyl, Raquel Rodriguez.
Now, hold on. Before we continue, I want to make a note about Raquel Rodriguez.
The trapezius pterodactyl?
Yes. She had been gone for the last 3 months because she was dealing with a medical emergency. Have you read this medical emergency?
I have not. Please elucidate for me.
So she wrestled with something called MCAS. It's a skin condition, mast cell activation syndrome. And basically what that means is that she would break out into uncontrollable hives.
Oh, no.
And she finally got cleared, but before she arrived in Australia, it flared up again, and she was determined to go through the match. That's why, she was so pale, and she didn't look, good because she didn't have her makeup on or whatever. But props to the woman for working despite being under a really serious medical condition.
Well, it sounds like it probably hurt like hell. And so I give her credit. And here was the thing. I knew something looked different, but I thought that she had just gone to, Charlotte's plastic surgeon or something. It makes more sense now that there was a medical condition behind it, because that I was like, there's something up with her face, but I couldn't quite pin it. And I didn't know what to make of it. And now that makes a lot more sense now. And so Mac the Knife did not get another paycheck, as I once suspected.
Right. It basically, she had allergies, and, it gave her skin rashes, gave her issues with flushing, easy bruising, reddish or pale complexion, itchiness, burning feelings, all that stuff. Again, props to the woman for wrestling the match.
I give her
Although, again, it does explain why her performance was a little rough.
Meh, yeah. But I will give her a pass on this one because that does suck.
Yeah.
And Now, next to all of these women's names, I wrote a 1 or 2 word phrase when they came down to the ring. With Bianca, I put winnable. For the trapezius pterodactyl Raquel Rodriguez, unfortunately, I wrote down fodder, which was not incorrect. Tiffany Stratton, good showing range, which is about what we got. Liv Borgen will get too much time. Naomi, glow doesn't really work in the day. And then Beckwith Lynch still gets the biggest pop. You got to give it to Becky. She still has, even though she has been stale herself for the past year and a half, she still gets the biggest pop internationally.
Well, that's because she's the man.
She is. She is, but I gotta give her credit for that. She really does still have a good fan base, and it goes to show just how over she really did get during the prime of that run that she had at the top of WWE, and that it was very much earned.
Also, the fact that there was not much competition to get over her in this match. There was only one other woman that matched her star level. Well, for now. For
right.
now.
Well, that was kind of the point I was going to make overall, kind of at the end of this, is that are there really enough women to justify a women's elimination chamber? Are there enough winnable contenders, like where you could put 6 women who viably and reasonably and with a look of reasonability can win these matches and feel competitive and in winnable range? Do we have the women's roster for that yet?
If you subbed out one of Raquel or Naomi for Charlotte, it looks better.
Well, can we take Liv out altogether?
I mean, I wish we could. Listen, do you want to know what I wrote down for my notes?
Please.
I wrote down, so here's the thing. I wrote down the ladies' names, and I wrote them in 3 categories. I wrote good performance, okay performance, and bad performance. And only one of these women got bad performance. Take a guess which one.
Would it happen to be Liv Morgan?
Yes, it would. But let's talk about this first part with Charlotte. Not Charlotte. Becky. I got Charlotte on the mind. Again, damn it. Becky and Naomi.
Yes. So I liked this pairing to start out. And by the way, what did you think of this, the 4 screens with the chamber cam that we got occasionally?
The LED light up and the TV cams of the chambers, I'm not going to lie, I loved it only because this is kind of what it looks like when you're doing like sports, like waiting for a fighter to come in, like a UFC fighter for his match or whatever.
Yeah.
As I told you guys before we started this review, the chamber has never looked better and felt more stale at the same time.
Yeah, I love the way that they shot it. If we had not seen like a bajillion of these since, over the last 22 years, this would feel and look way cooler than it did on this night. And I will say one of the things I noticed about Naomi, there's a lot more oomph in her strikes than there used to be.
Yes, but did it feel like Naomi and Becky went at half speed when they were doing like their little, sizing each other up thing?
Kind of felt like they were a little rusty in there with each other. Because, after all, their feud was, 2018? For the SmackDown Women's title? It's been a while. It's been a while since these two have had, a one-on-one match or a one-on-one confrontation. So, but it still did okay. I just felt really bad for them because they tried to do the double bridge and they couldn't quite do it. And I was into it. I was into their stuff. And then when they got to that, I was like, yeah, oh.
And then they kind of killed them, like, next woman in, please. Next woman in, please.
I felt so bad for them. And to be fair to them, they recovered. And they kept going. I just felt so sad. I was just like, this was such a... could have been such a thing. But then anyway, then we get to one of my biggest gripes on Mr. Lee Fitting Dungarees. I hate the idea of qualifying these wrestlers by their WWE 2K rating. I hate it. I know they're trying to sell the video game, but I hate it.
I don't think that's a Lee Fitting thing. I think that's a management decision.
It's hashtag bad formatting. Because I don't want to see what you think these stars' ratings are. I don't care about that. I want everyone to feel like they're in winnable range. That doesn't help me in the grand scheme of looking at these women and go, any one of these women could win this match. That just kind of demonstrates the point that we were just asking ourselves is, are there enough women that justify this?
May I make a counter to that?
Please.
Does that not also feel like what the NFL does with the Madden ratings?
Yeah, and I hate it when they do it there too.
Okay, just checking.
It's equally as stupid there. Because what if a 79 player makes a 90-yard punt return 4 times in a season, but he's still level 79 because it counts as special teams?
Because the NFL will do the thing where they change their ratings in the middle of the season?
Yeah, which is still stupid. Again, it's so... I don't like it. I'm old. I'm an old guy. And I did not like the idea. And if you want people to invest in all of the people involved in the match, don't give them people to be that they can just subconsciously go, oh, well, she's only a 79, so why should I give a shit about Tiffany Stratton? It's no surprise Liv Morgan pinned her because Liv Morgan is a 90 or whatever her number was. That was ridiculous.
But Sean, Puka the Cool was a 75 before the season started, and then they upgraded him to a 90.
Yeah, I don't care.
This is for the nerds that really love the video games. Why would you? Because Madden has sucked for 10 years.
Well, yeah, Madden has kind of suffered the same fate as WWE games, actually, in a lot of ways. But the other problem is that it's like that's just it. They're trying to make... One of our biggest complaints has always been these guys doing video game matches. Don't lean into that. Don't give them that kind of satisfaction. Let us e-fetters be nerd e-fetters that don't get laid. Don't give that to the general public.
I mean, again, to be fair, it's the WWE doing the same thing that the NFL does, so it's whatever. But let's move on because
I know, I understand they're trying to sell the game. I'm just not a fan.
Right. Well, I am a fan of Tiffany Stratton because, boy, when she came in, she looked good.
She did, but I did have a critique of her, one or two. I will say that split leg drop by Naomi, which was kind of a little homage to what's her name, Nikita Lyons, and yeah, and that worked. And when I thought the split leg drop was cool, I thought the ass jiggle beforehand on top of the chamber wasn't really necessary, but it's fine, fine. But Tiffany Stratton comes out and she gets into it with Becky, I think, and there's one moment where Becky goes for a punch and Tiffany ducks, and in order to shoot Becky off, Tiffany just kind of like touches Becky's, like the middle of Becky's back, and Becky just starts running. And I'm like, is that not like the same as a head palm shoot off? Just kind of brazenly touching the back and just being like, go. So she can work on her shoot offs, but that's about all I really had majorly about Tiffany Stratton. Otherwise, I thought her gimmick work was quite good.
She very much is in the vein of beautiful girl that is also kind of bitchy. Like, it's a little generic. She's going to need to add more layers to it. But for someone who is still very raw, she looked good in the showing.
She did. I think she's got a lot of potential to really break, turn a lot of heads, all things considered, in the in the women's division. I think it's just going to take some time. It may not happen right away for her, but that's not a bad thing. She just got there.
Right. The comparison I had made was a better version of Carmella, which, again, we'll have to see what happens.
Well, and not to diminish Carmella either. I mean, there have been some moments she hasn't sucked. But I understand what you mean. An overall better quality wrestler than Carmella.
Right, which Tiffany is also only 24. The other thing, too, is that Australia, I know because international, it's going to be a little bit weird what they cheer for and what they don't cheer for. They were hot for her. Like, she was the biggest fan. She was the biggest one that the fans really loved in this match.
Yeah, they were definitely into Tiffany Stratton. Well, because I think they see the same thing that we do. You know, they see the potential there. They want to get behind her to some degree. But it's just going to take some time. But then comes Liv Morgan, and Michael Cole said something. He mentioned the rough and tough style of Liv Morgan, meaning rough to watch and tough to stomach.
I agree with Michael Cole. Even though I know that's not what he meant, I agree with him.
Yeah. Yeah. If this is what his context was, then I am 100% on board with that analysis. And then, and then spots and some more spots. Another one that I liked was that Beck-sploder that Tiffany Stratton took, like basically right into the corner of the cage, that had a really nice satisfying thud with the little chain link cling that happened on that. I thought that was really nice. And then the disarmer through the steel, that was a clever spot.
There's something weird about this chamber. I don't know what it is about the design of the chamber, but the metal doesn't look as forbidding as it used to.
Oh, I think it's very well spray painted. It's probably a lower quality metal, not enough to break or anything like that, but they've been finding ways to kind of make all of these things safer. And that's been kind of my major issue recently with the chamber, is that it just, for something that's supposed to be this like devastating structure, it feels pretty safe right now. It's
right, especially when like Raquel Rodriguez did that spot where she grabbed Tiffany Stratton and threw her into the chain link fence. Like the first one looked kind of devastating. The second one was like, okay, that was kind of a love tap.
Well, and there's also no give in the chamber anymore, so you don't really get any like major impact or sound of impact or visual of impact when you hit it, which makes it hard to kind of have those spots carry more weight. Also, hitting the chain link and not having anybody, get juice, that was part of what the appeal of the steel, as if you will, was, you run somebody into the steel, they get a little juice. You can't really, they just don't do that anymore.
And also running people into the glass just doesn't like pop you as much as it used to.
Well, I thought it was very interesting that they made the point to mention that it was the same stuff that they make bulletproof glass out of. And I was like, okay, that's a weird thing to promote, but okay, I guess.
I mean, it's the same glass they use at the NHL hockey rinks, so like it's whatever. Like you're gonna have to use a pretty strong like thing in order to run in and break the glass, which they didn't do tonight. Which I'm fine with it. I've seen the glass be broken before. I don't need to see it.
Well, the glass didn't break; it just got unhinged from its slot when they did some of the like the spear later on. We'll get to, but then they tried to do this what Michael Cole called a sunset flip. But it was not.
It was not a sunset flip.
It was not a sun. It was a big heap of ass. Is what it was. I'm not even sure what it was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be something.
It was supposed to be something, but I don't know. But it ended up being nothing.
Right, and then is this the part where Raquel comes in?
This is the part where Naomi gets eliminated by Tiffany Stratton. When it was right at Naomi had just hit, I forget what she calls that move.
She hit something.
She hits something, goes for the pin, but Stratton counters it for a roll up and gets Naomi, which I really like. But it was predicated. Naomi got that advantage because Tiffany Stratton went to, I think, go into the turnbuckle, or she went to go charge at Naomi. Or she went to charge at Liv. Liv did a drop toe hold into what Tiffany was supposed to hit the turnbuckle, but she did not hit the turnbuckle. She almost like she half caught herself and just was like, I'm not taking this bump. And then just like stood up. And that's when Naomi got her.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was about this whole night, but everyone was afraid to take turnbuckle bumps. She wasn't
maybe it's
the
because
only
the
one.
turnbuckle was harder than the chamber.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. And
But yeah, like it kind of speaks kind of bad to Naomi that she went from being the longest person in the Royal Rumble match to being the first person eliminated in the Elimination Chamber.
Before 2 more women came out.
Oh yeah, that especially was not good.
Yeah, because then Raquel comes in, and Raquel in this match was booked as the Smiley Giant?
I guess.
Which was a weird spot to be in, but again, we'll blame the sickness. Get up. You might get down with it. I don't like how Bianca always motions when she came in. I don't like when Bianca gets into the ring and she always like motions for her opponents to come toward her. Almost like it's, I don't want to say gymnastics, but it's like a cheerleading thing, right? She gets in and then she's like, come on, like it's Shinsuke Nakamura, but her hands are actually like up in a reasonable position. But she does that every time she goes to do something, and it kind of ruins a little bit of the, it makes it look cohesive, as in not one good unit, but as in we've rehearsed this.
Remember how the complaint is for Kenny Omega that he has happy feet?
That's one of the complaints of Kenny Omega, yeah.
Well, with Bianca, I like to call it jazz hands.
Yeah, they're very spirited fingers.
Having said that, though, again, like I thought Becky and Naomi were okay in this match, but their segment was very slow. Bianca turned up the pace. Like when she got in, she really sped things up. And again, it kind of shows that there's a clear-cut class when it comes to the very best of the women compared to the middle of the roster.
Yeah, oh yeah. You know, Bianca comes in there and you can tell she is a difference maker, and how much better all of her shit looks compared to some of the others. You know, and she's been very good with that. Not all the time, but then I kind of sped through this here. The next thing I have written down is that half-assed hockey fight on top of the cell from Tiffany Stratton and Becky Lynch.
Oh my god.
And this is where I was like, Tiffany's not bad, but she needs work. Because this was like, it wasn't even a hockey fight. It was like punch, oh no, forget it. And
no, it was Tiffany Stratton going up to the top of the cell along with Becky Lynch, and Tiffany looking at the ground and then realizing, wait, we forgot to do the spot. So Becky's like, okay, I better do the spot. So at the same time as Becky's trying to do the hockey fight, Tiffany's like, I'm not doing the spot. And Becky's like, you're going to do the goddamn spot.
And instead, it just looked like a half-assed hockey fight. But it did end with a dive that landed, which was nice.
It feels like with Tiffany Stratton, I don't know if they necessarily should have kept her in NXT for maybe another year. I mean, she's only 24, so like there is the argument that she'll get better as time goes on. But I think it was kind of very clear that like there wasn't much for her to do. She's not a finished product, but I think she's still kind of green, honestly.
I do too, but I think this time on the road is going to help her case. I think that because I think the reaction she got, regardless, from Australia, there's something to that. They know there's something to that. They just need to refine this a little bit. But I think there's hope there for Tiffany Stratton, especially after the reaction that Liv Morgan got for eliminating her.
Oh my goodness! Like the fact that they booed Liv Morgan for that, like,
but
yeah, it was shit.
And
it was absolute shit.
Man, they did. These fans were mad when Liv Morgan got that pin. And it was just, you could just feel the heat even after the fact, even when it kind of calmed down and it was, starting to get down to the three of them. And I will say though that bomb that I think Raquel did it, which was like a power bomb on the ropes, then it was a face plant into the cell, then a power bomb into the ring. I thought that was pretty good.
By the way, I have a question for you with Tiffany Stratton. Did you know about her U.S. gymnastics stuff?
I did not.
So she's a real-life athlete going from U.S. gymnastics. Take a guess. You'll never guess this, but take a guess at who was her original wrestling trainer.
For gymnastics?
No, her original wrestling trainer.
Her original Scout Jake Manning.
No.
Joey Ryan.
I'll give you the name. And you'll laugh at this one. Greg Gagne.
Huh.
AKA Vern's son.
Yeah. But how? I didn't even know Greg was still teaching.
Apparently, her mom knew Greg because they lived in the area, and she asked Greg Gagne to train her.
That is wild. I didn't even know Greg was still even involved in the wrestling business in any capacity, even with just a personal training. That is fascinating.
Apparently he opened up a training school in Minnesota, and that's where Tiffany is originally from.
Well, that's a fun little piece of information there.
She was also trained at the Performance Center, and her main trainer was some guy named Ken Anderson.
I didn't know they hired him to be a trainer.
Yeah, he's working as a trainer for NXT.
Good for them, man. I'm happy that I'm happy they're getting all these kinds of people to really be able to get different perspectives in on the business. That's nice to see. It honestly is nice to see. And
there's also a little bit where I think you can see a little bit, especially in the personality and mannerisms of Mr. Anderson through Tiffany.
I'll have to watch for it now. We'll have to watch it in a one-on-one match. I like her in the Royal Rumble. I like her in this one, but can we get a one-on-one match? Yeah, if we get a singles match, I'm going to take a look. I don't have to see if there's, see into that. But
yeah, I kind of feel like after this, Liv Morgan was not getting the reactions that they expected her to. And I'm just like, good. Fuck her.
She doesn't deserve any of those reactions. Well, then Bianca Belair does a 450 that Becky gets the knees up on. And then did you notice that they were doing a lot more crowd shots, like these wide shots of the building, than they normally do? That's on dungarees as well.
Again, a lot of this, I think, is just like you got to sell the arena. You got to sell the sunlight, which it was a pretty cool view, but I think they went to it one too many times.
Yeah, I did too. I think it was a little bit, but then somebody clicked at the bottom gear in the YouTube video of this show and hit the 1.5 speed button, because then everything picked up in like 30 seconds and the match was over.
Well, again, like Raquel Rodriguez gets eliminated by Bianca Belair, who does the KOD, and then Bianca, Liv, and Becky wrestle for a little bit longer as a three-way. I don't like this finish.
Well, because somebody
one reason.
Somebody told them, hey, hurry the fuck up.
Well, here's the thing. Do you want to know why I really don't like this finish?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Why did they bother to make fucking Liv Morgan smart?
Did they?
They had her do a roll-up on Bianca to eliminate Bianca.
Yeah, only 2 seconds later get hit with a manhandle slam.
Boo.
For the 1, 2, 3. What?
Boo.
What I said was Liv should not have pinned Bianca Belair. There was no point to that. There was no reason for that. And if we're going to get a Bianca Belair versus Liv Morgan match out of this, but yeah,
I really hope. I
would rather Bianca not be on the card. No offense, Bianca. I love you dearly. She really has won me over with the kind of wrestler she is and has become, but I don't want to see her fight Liv Morgan at Mania.
Give her Jade Cargill.
Give her Jade, yeah. Well, I don't know how great that match would be either. I think Jade Cargill needs somebody like she needs a horsewoman or Rhea Ripley to have her first match.
Don't we say that Bianca Belair is basically at the same level as the Horsewoman?
Well, yeah, but we've also made this point in the case that Bianca Belair's matches are sometimes quality-wise the result of the partner she's with, not her herself. And I don't
necessarily know if I believe that, because a lot of Bianca's best stuff is because of her athletics. Yes, she's had great wrestlers to work with, but she still had to carry the ball.
Okay, but let me ask you another question. Do you want to put her to be in the ring with somebody like Jade, who is, I don't want to say is the same, but I would say it definitely has kind of attributes that, you know, it's kind of like a more muscular kind of form to this. It's like, I feel like that would diminish Bianca more than not. It's not even just the quality of matches. I don't think you book that match yet first for Jade Cargill. I think Bianca and Jade is money later.
Okay, but then what does Bianca Belair do? Because, like, they're quickly running out of spots at WrestleMania for people. We'll talk about this as we go on to the men's chamber, but they're running out of spots to put people on the card unless they do an Andre type thing.
Well, they did a women's rumble last year, didn't they?
They did a women's multi-tag team match for the women's tag team championships.
Yeah, well, you know.
Oh, you know what? Okay, do Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair as a tag team. Fuck it.
No, I don't want to go through that whole Sasha Banks storyline again. Like, can we not? Can we not? Like, this is. I don't have a good answer, Sky. I don't, for what Bianca's gonna do. I just hope it's not Liv Morgan. That's the only thing that I just hope it's not Liv Morgan.
I mean, a lot of people hope that they don't do Liv Morgan, but one of the people who fucked her up was Becky Lynch, who now was the only woman that walked in with a storyline, which is, can I still do it? Can I still rival with the best of the best? And I guess we'll see.
Well, the thing was I only ever really felt like her or Bianca had any shot of winning this. And that's kind of the problem I have with the whole thing. It's like, I would rather have 6 women that I know any one of them could walk away with this with a win and go on the face. It doesn't feel like that. It didn't feel like that in this match. It felt like, okay, we're basically just waiting to see if Becky wins or Bianca wins, or if WWE really hates us and they choose Liv Morgan. Which they almost did, it felt like. But it's just, this was okay at best, but I think there have been better women's chambers than this.
Pretty much.
Should I talk about JoshAgeddon's thoughts on this?
Oh, sure.
All right, match 1, women's chamber. I will admit, the one name I'm going to read of all 6 that he put down here is Raquel Gutierrez Enchilada.
Oh, my God.
First off, while I am not all that familiar with Motionless in White, it is nice to have a WWE show start off with some rock. I'm sick and tired of watching these shows open with the shittiest, most generic pop music garbage ever each time I watch WWE. As for the women's chamber, this was honestly the best one they have ever done. That's not high praise, but I enjoyed the contest. On a quick note, in case you're wondering, Raquel looked weird because she had mast cell active. Okay, he basically said what you said. Yeah, I'm not going to say that. He make his Dragon Ball Z joke. I'm skipping.
Oh my God. Come on, Joshua. Get original.
That's why she isn't wearing makeup and a blah, 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 blah. And despite this real disease likely inhibiting her sight, she was not anywhere near as bad in this match as the living disease known as Liv Morgan. What exactly does Liv Morgan contribute to the human race outside of being jerk-off material? Oh, right. Nothing. Everything she does sucks, looks sloppy, and ineffective, and the perception of women's wrestling will never improve so long as failed abortions like her are around. Tiffany Stratton, however, looked like $1 million. I would say about 500,000, but fair enough. And Australia was head over heels in love with her. That's true. Them booing the shit out of Liv when she pinned Tiffany was amazing. Becky wins by pinning Liv with the shittiest looking Uragi ever, and Becky winning was never in doubt. I look forward to Becky versus Rhea at Mania. This match was good, even though Liv Morgan sucks total ass. Oh, that about sums it up, doesn't it?
I really hope that we are done with this Liv Morgan bullshit push, but I feel like because she's still around, people are still going to be like, but she's hot, and she's popular, and shit.
And Triple H likes her for some reason. And
Because Triple H doesn't know when to be non-emotional with his pet projects.
you know, yeah, I feel like he really has tried with Liv. And honestly, I would rather have Alexa Bliss in that position. And
I don't think Alexa Bliss is ever wrestling ever again.
well, we don't know that for sure. I mean, she's having a child.
If she would have been wrestling, she would have been back by now.
Well, we don't.
It's
know
been almost
that.
2
We don't know that
years.
for sure. We don't know that for
Her
sure.
last match was against Bianca Belair at the 2023 Royal Rumble.
Okay, which was a year ago. So
Wait, was it 2023 or 2022?
well, you just said 2023. So you
God
tell
damn
me.
it.
So
Yeah.
It's I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? I just hope she doesn't show up all ghostly in tribute.
You know, I was thinking 2023 because of the Bray Wyatt and LA Knight thing.
Yeah.
No, it was 2022. That was the last. What? Jesus Christ.
Well,
whatever. Anyway,
we don't know-
move on.
we don't know
Tag
for
match.
sure.
That doesn't matter.
What we're saying is we don't know for sure. I hope you're doing well, Alexa Bliss. And the point is, I'd rather have her at half of the quality she was than Liv Morgan at full quality. But
I will watch Sasha Banks over Liv Morgan. I will watch Alicia Fox over Liv Morgan. I will watch Kelly over Liv Morgan.
well, I agreed with 1.5 of those. I only want to see one Kelly. But in any case, let's move on, shall we? It's tag title time, and oh how the mighty have fallen. Now, what am I referring to in this? I could be referring to a number of things. I could be referring to the tag titles. I could be referring to Pete Dunne. I could be referring to the Judgment Day. All of which would apply. It is the Judgment Day versus Pete Bate, which is Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, the complex of short Hobbit wrestlers. Forget what their actual name was.
Something exchange.
Yes, if Mary and Pippin wanted to be wrestlers, they'd be these two. And and then, did you catch this? Did you catch when the Judgment Day was coming down that they said that the reason R-Truth was not there with them was that he flew to Austria because he thought that's where that it was going to be held?
I caught that, and that my thing when I was thinking about it was like, good.
I did not miss him.
No.
I think it was a funny little bit. It was perfectly timed because it was one line in commentary that if you weren't listening, you didn't miss it, and it didn't have any bearing on the
Although
promotion of the show.
I was dreading it because like, oh no, he's gonna make a surprise appearance anyway, isn't he?
Well, thankfully, no. Thankfully,
But I have 2 words for you, Sean.
yeah, boo.
Boo! Yeah, boo!
Yeah, boo.
Yeah, boo! Yeah, boo! Okay, I'm officially on this gimmick.
Yeah, isn't it the greatest? Like, it honestly makes Finn Balor so much more watchable. Just because you're hearing to see how many times he does it and what moves he does it for.
No, it's always whenever he throws a punch.
Yeah.
Every time he throws a punch, he has to do that. Yeah, boo. Yeah,
It's
boo.
great. It's great. My favorite.
That's why we were at the Rumble. We just could hear in the background. Yeah, boo.
We could hear him screaming it. He's screaming it. And you know, my favorite part of this match, and basically the only part of this match I liked, was when Finn Balor got him up for a backbreaker. I got one of the two up, and he goes, yeah, and holds him up, and then he hits the backbreaker and goes, boo! So I love that it's like a wind-up, too. It's like when you play Mario Tennis on the Wii, and you like have to wind up the tennis racket before you hit it.
Right, and Mario does the yeah.
I would love to have Finn Balor in Mario Tennis going, yeah.
Oh my
boo,
god.
Yeah, boo. His power move is a sling blade. It'd be great. It'd be great. Get on it, Nintendo. Get on it.
I smell some money right there.
Yeah, that is a money. But speaking of Finn Balor, he was wearing his goth team NCR listening sisters Converse to the ring. And because that's
What, you didn't like the Nikes?
No, it was his goth teen MCR listening sisters shoes, and that's fine. And later on he would go on to hit a shoe de grace. So it was all good.
I'm glad that bisexual Undertaker actually wore some like proper outfit instead of looking like a $5 hooker, aka Damian Priest.
Yeah, it was better. It was better.
But I still feel like the hair is like, okay, Bianca has that gimmick. You need to give it back.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. There's something about Damian Priest that just is not registering for me as much as it used to. And it's... I'm not really sure what it is. First of all, can we please get some new belt designs? Can we just merge these suckers and just get a regular belt?
No, we can't.
Well, why not? TNA did it. Well, TNA did it, and as a result, the dude got fucking fired, so...
It wouldn't surprise me if Scott D'Amore personally paid for the belts, and then they ended up firing him anyways.
Hey, but you know what? If that means Scott ends up as a producer for WWE, good. Add on to the repertoire of skilled people who care about the business. But in any case, this match starts with a CIW certified 30% apron moonsault by Pete Dunne. And where do we... Then Tyler Bate scales the ropes with his hands from some move that Balor's got him in. And Pete Dunne still slaps him on the back for the tag.
I hate that you point out the back slap tag, because now whenever I see it, I can't unsee it.
Well, blame Jim Cornette. He taught it to me, and I taught it to you. So just by proxy, that's something. And the thing is, it's just lazy. He literally could have just lifted his hand up for half a second and just tagged the hand as Tyler Bate was going to reach for the top of the rope. Anyway, they showed the video game ratings again. I still hated it.
By WWE 2K something something.
And by the way, I love the fact that Dominic Mysterio did the intros for the Judgment Day and the crowd was booing the fuck out of him.
It's a competition to see who can boo him the loudest.
Except you could tell they were amping up the microphones on the cameras because you heard the audio levels adjust a little bit when he was trying to introduce the people, like introduce the Judgment Day, and they really amplified those boos up. You tell they're definitely like fanning the flames a little bit.
Yeah,
they're not.
But do you want to know where this?
But they're definitely amplifying what's already there.
But do you want to know where this match died?
It wasn't when Dom fanned off Finn Balor with his lower shirt, was it?
It was when they did the hot tag and then they didn't go home.
No, they started a new match.
This is they pulled an AEW thing, and I will give credit to you, Sean, because you said it years ago. You do the hot tag, you got 3 minutes to go home.
Your clock's ticking.
You got to either clock's ticking, so you got 3 minutes to go home and finish it. And they did not finish it. They took their sweet ass time. Again, they had the Dom thing, so they got a little bit of excitement when Dom was thrown out. But after he left, it was like, wow, and all the heat just left this match.
And so did all the energy. And then Damian Priest. Here it comes again. I think it was Tyler Bate whipped him into the... Or no, again, Damian Priest was charging at somebody in the corner. Damian Priest...
Tyler Bate.
Jumps up into the corner, hits the back post with his hand, looks at the turnbuckle, and just stands there. Doesn't even ricochet his head back. Doesn't even look like he got any whiplash from taking the turnbuckle. Didn't even get his head close to the turnbuckle. Just slapped the post like he was on the goddamn Family Feud.
And the worst part was that Finn Balor was on the top rope, and what was supposed to happen was that Tyler Bate was supposed to Hurricane Rana Damian Priest into Finn Balor, and it looks like he just stopped.
Because they did just stop.
He literally stopped and forgot what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, and it was just... And then it just kept going. And the next thing I got was that... I believe it was Michael Cole... The great title for Tyler Bate of Big Strong Boy Tyler Bate. That's put.
Where are you on Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne?
What's that?
Where are you on Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne?
Well, I will say this. They are on television and they were in a tag team title match, and they are borderline. Dare I say that while they might be good, they're teeny. They're like the Lollipop Guild. And it makes it very difficult for me to go, they're going to be on the same level. Besides, this is like the micro bar. This is the micro bar. It's Micro Cesaro and a tanner, longer-haired Sheamus who likes fingers.
They make Finn Balor look like Damian Priest in this match.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that these guys can't work. I'm saying that this gimmick doesn't. And the one thing I will give them...
Well, let's be more specific. This is the type of tag team that would work perfectly in AEW.
They would do much better in AEW. They'd actually help the tag team division be a division in AEW, because there's stuff that they do that's good. It's just it doesn't. They're brand new. They don't really have a tag team identity yet. I think that it needs more time. It needs more time, and they should not have had a title match this quick into their tenure.
But that's the problem with WWE's tag team division. They don't have a tag team division.
That's what.
So any team that gets created is immediately going to be pushed into the title picture because they have nothing else.
Because that's all they have. Yeah.
Like, think about this again. The tag team titles at last year's WrestleMania was in the main event of night one with one of the hottest storylines of the weekend, basically, with Jay and Jimmy Uso versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
Now those two might not even be on the WrestleMania card.
And the tag team titles are not going to be anywhere close to main eventing night 1 or 2 of WrestleMania.
Yeah, that could be night 2's or night 1's match 2. You know, that's where the tag titles are right now. The disservice they did to the tag titles after the Bloodline basically did away with them. It really goes to show how hot the Bloodline is, but also goes to show how little backup they had for after they won the belt. And that kind of was that's the thing here. Then they go for the shoe de grace. This has gone on for way too long. Then they do... I don't even know what I meant by this. The fans were losing interest. I'm losing interest. The one thing I did really like before this finish was that there was one tag from Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate where they just basically looked at Damian Priest and they just started just wailing on him with punches. And that was like the one thing where I'm like, okay, just going and beating a motherfucker down. Okay, you should have been doing this part from the start, and I might have been more interested in this.
But no, it doesn't matter. Coup de grace. Which, by the way, did you notice that Finn Balor was holding the knuckles on his right hand?
Yeah, what happened to Finn?
So when Pete Dunne did his, stomp on the fingers and then finger snap thing, he actually legitimately broke Finn Balor's fingers.
Oh shit! Oh no! That's not good.
But hey, Logan Paul did the finger joint manipulation thing at the Rumble, and Pete Dunne's like, well, I actually got to break a motherfucker's fingers in order to get my gimmick back.
Yeah, literally. Points for realism. I mean, I'll give you credit for that. There used to be a time when that was pretty ubiquitous in wrestling, where you'd have to do that in order to keep your stick going.
That, and you can break a finger and not worry too much. Like, all you have to do is just pop it back in.
Yeah, it hurts like fuck, though.
Oh, definitely.
I will say, as someone who's broken a couple, one recently throwing a football, yeah, it sucks. But
yeah, I just this match did nothing, and you could tell because of the fact that this was a 5-match card, one of the matches being on the pre-show, and it was a 4-hour show, that they were having to stretch and milk it. The one complaint I will understand from AEW fans that deserved merit is that this show was 4 hours and it only had an hour and a half of wrestling and 3 hours of just filler shit, whatever.
Yeah, well, the thing was that filler shit wasn't just moves in the ring to the counter of the AEW complainers. But I will also add that they really could have toned quite a few things. They could have reeled the match times on these back quite a lot. Namely this one, because, you knew the chambers were going to be big. But there was no reason for this tag match to be this long and to go this long and to make it feel like this was anywhere close to, like, the Judgment Day were not losing these belts. Not now.
I wonder, again, like we said it at the beginning, like there were supposed to be 8 matches with the one pre-show match, so 7 matches on the main card. I'm sure if they had the full 7 matches, this would not have gotten the time it gotten. It probably would have been shaved by like 5 minutes. Instead of going 17, it would have gone 12.
It probably should have gone 8, if we're being honest with ourselves.
Well, I mean, the match, they wouldn't have done the filler part after the hot tag, and they would have just gone straight to the finish of Dom gets thrown out, but he still cost the team the win or something, whatever.
Yeah, and that would have been plenty. That would have been totally plenty. But
instead we get a talking segment.
Well, before we talk about that, let's talk about JoshAgeddon's thoughts.
Oh, right. He has thoughts. I thought he was a brain dead idiot.
Well, just wait. Judgment Day versus Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. That's P-E-T-T-E. Or Pete Dunne. He's from France, obviously. Pete Dunne. This was
an Englishman from France.
Ah, yes. Only of the finest culture. Man of many baguettes. This was the beginning of a lot of technical issues on this show, some of which actually made me laugh out loud. During this match, when Dom was ejected, the screen went black for like 5 or 6 seconds. I forgot about that. That happened to y'all as well then. I didn't see... I saw that, but I forgot about that. Yeah, they did a random cut to black, and I can't remember if it was during the entrances for this match or the next... that while the camera was showing a cool-looking shot of the stadium, it suddenly panned down to the ground and got a wonderful shot of nothing. It's like someone dropped the camera and I nearly emptied the contents of my lungs from wheezing. As for this match, as much as I like all 4 guys involved, this is my least favorite thing on the show. This match just never clicked for me and went on for way too long. The first half had a bit of structure, but then just evolved into let's randomly tag and do moves for a while. Yeah, I agree with that. I was honestly more entertained by the technical problems than this match. And then the crowd randomly started going, this is awesome. Look, Australia, I know you guys live on a tiny, weird-ass continent where not much happens outside of watching kangaroos use boomerangs as sex toys. But this was not awesome. Raise your standards. this, in my opinion, was a dud.
Listen, all Australia has had to give to the world is rugby, kangaroos, and Chris Hemsworth. Okay, like they don't got much.
Well, they have Grayson Waller and the Waller effect. And I don't really have much to say about this segment. Austin Theory comes out and does some written bullshit that nobody really cared about. And then they introduced Grayson Waller, who got like a pop, but they knew he was a heel, but he was a hometown, so they still gave him a pop, and he did some stuff that pandered to Australia, which was kind of nice. But let me ask you, Sky, is this the biggest pop that Grayson Waller's ever going to get?
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of got the same feeling. Then they introduced Seth Rollins.
On this edition of What the Fuck is Seth Rollins Wearing?
When you've done so many psychedelics that even your third eye needs sunlight protection, you get Seth Rollins. When you're a member of the Borg that randomly and accidentally assimilated a cargo pants factory, that is Seth Rollins.
When Patrick Clark gets fired for diddling children, you have to reuse those glasses because you're Seth Rollins.
When you literally just walk through the warehouse of WWE and pick pieces of everyone else's gear to make your gear, that is it. You've got the mesh shirt from Albert of TNA. You've got the third eye from Patrick Clark from NXT.
Velveteen
and you've
Dream.
got Lita and Matt Hardy's pants. So we've
Wait, Lita and Matt Hardy's pants? They take one leg, take the other, and mush them together?
That's right. They got one half of each. And but even with all that being said, that was still toned down for Seth Rollins.
Right, he didn't come out as a pink sparkly vagina,
Yeah, no,
or Elton John's like tainted little coochie, whatever.
Yeah, he didn't come out as a rainbow sphincter. He was just the third eye Borg today.
But can we talk about this pop that Cody Rhodes got?
Well, I have to give Waller some credit because his American education system joke about Cody Rhodes and finishing his story I thought was actually kind of funny. And it did pop the crowd. And I was like,
it was the best line it was honestly the best line of the night.
And it was like, yeah, that was a good pop. I like that joke. But then Cody comes out and this crowd goes banana. And they sang his music. Take that, Chris Jericho.
They sang his music word for word. I mean, granted, a lot of people have been singing his music word for word lately.
True.
Again, the dude is over.
He is. And it's amazing that they actually have been able to keep him relevant after losing to Roman Reigns last year. And that he is somehow as over, if not more so than before. It's really surprising, although I will say, I don't know whether you noticed this, Sky, but when they did the pyro and they had those two fireworks that were like two giant ball fireworks on either side, when they blew those up at the same time, it made the whole arena look like a chode. And that just made me laugh a little bit. But then they start getting into this, and it takes a while, and Seth Rollins does his whole leapy-deepy, hey, I have an announcement, I'm going to be back, I'm going to dance around. He does his Waluigi laugh, and he sits, and then he sits back down, and Cody Rhodes takes over, and it's like Seth Rollins is Cody Rhodes' opening act. Because he sat there like a hype man, like Adam Richter to Conan O'Brien, and he literally sat there as Cody in this suit, gave a heartfelt promo, although please, WWE, I am begging you, do not make Cody Crybabies a shirt. Please.
I mean, could it be any worse than Mr. Anderson's asshole shirt thing?
Yes. Yes, I don't want to see a grown man wearing wearing a Cody Rhodes tattooed shirt with a giant binky on it. No, I don't want that at all.
I'm sorry, but actually I want to see that now.
I do not. But it's anyway, the second that they mention The Rock, Rocky sucks chants. Loud Rocky sucks chants. And it was this moment where Cody steps up closer to the hard cam and says, "I challenge you, Rock, to a match one-on-one." And Cody's in the suit and he's suave and he's determined and he's got that look in his eye. And you could tell he's serious by the look of his face. And then up comes Seth Rollins looking like a goof, going, "I'll help you." And it was like, it totally killed, like him walking up to Cody like that, dressed like that, completely killed the seriousness of the segment.
I'm not gonna lie, like, Seth Rollins looks like a cosplay Macho Man.
Yeah, but that's kind of like my point. It's like, he's gotten more serious in the way that he's delivered his material and the way that he's, interacted with people lately. Has Seth Rollins, right? I think that they need to just rip this Band-Aid off and just tone these outfits down. And just...
Well, it's not just the outfits, it's the way that he emotes. He needs to stop doing this, like, emoting shit. Like, just talk like a real person for once instead of a weird video game guy.
Yeah, I don't think he has...
We get enough of that in AEW. I don't need it in WWE.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. I think that Seth's now at the point where he can tone it down and nobody's going to object to it and he's not going to lose any fans over it. And that's kind of my whole point of this segment. But the point is that Seth's back and Cody wants to fight The Rock. And that was about it. And that was about it. And Austin Theory got...
Now, here's the question. This raises the question. Another thing, too, is that Cody promised that he's going to talk about what The Rock told him and why he originally was going to step away. That had better be a really good reveal.
Well, it had better be something that actually made sense. But I think they're gonna figure it out. And I know,
like, it has to be like, if you don't step away, I'm going to fire you. Like, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be... they're going to make something out of it to kind of show that The Rock was already abusing power before the announcement and all that. So, like, I think we're going to get there. And this progressed to that, but I'm always ambivalent about Grayson Waller segments anyway, because they're just there a lot of the time. And it was really no different with this one.
I mean, it was to get Cody over, and then to him and Seth to work together and basically, clown Austin Theory.
Yeah, and that's speaking of people who have completely fallen off. I mean...
So, here's the thing with Austin Theory, is that are we kind of like... I'm not saying we're done with him, but is it kind of like he needs to go away and learn a new hold?
I think something's got to change with him. But I don't know what that is yet, because there's too many people like Austin Theory right now. There was a point where he was different and he was new and he felt different and looked different and wrestled different. The landscape of WWE has changed quite a lot since then. And he has not kept up. And there's no other way to put it. And this is a sink or swim kind of business. And I think he had the opportunity and it didn't come his way, the way he thought. And he's got time. He's young, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see him back in NXT before we see him with more main roster success.
And the thing is that, like, I think this is somebody who needs a gimmick change, but I don't know what that gimmick change looks like.
No, me either. I don't really have any long-term solutions for that. At least not in the spur of the moment. But it's to the point that when you're the fourth most important guy in a 4-person segment, and you're really only there to introduce the more important person of the less important people of the group, and then to take the only physical confrontation there is in the whole segment, you know your role. So, would you like to hear?
I do want to point out that we are recording this on a day where they're recording Monday Night Raw in my hometown of San Jose.
Right, so he's looking out the window to see what's happening there.
Right, and there was a thing where Grayson Waller is going to challenge Cody to a match. So this is where Cody's going to get the beat down on Grayson Waller.
Theoretically. But now let's...
But they couldn't do it in the hometown because he would have gotten booed? Question mark.
Or Grayson Waller would have gotten less boos than he would anywhere else. So I guess the dynamic of that is better. But would you like to hear what JoshAgeddon had to say about this segment?
Did he have stuff to say?
He did, actually. I was surprised to see this myself. He said, speaking of duds, we got this segment. They had entrances, then more entrances, then more entrances. Then they talked. Then they talked some more. Then they talked even more. TLDR. Seth is almost medically cleared. Cody wants to revenge fuck The Rock. And Austin Theory is almost as cold as AEW. Also, drinking booze out of a shoe is stupid. This sucked.
Oh, yeah. They had Tai Tuivasa there, too. Who I know you and Joshua don't care who he is.
You would be right about that. Who is he?
He's a UFC fighter.
Oh.
And he's popular because he's big and he drinks out of the shoe, but also because he's a fun personality. Let me put it to you that way.
Okay. I'll give you that. I believe you. And
okay, he's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a wrestling comparison. Who's a fat guy in wrestling who drinks a lot that people love?
Well, Sandman wasn't really fat or lovable.
But kind of the same thing.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
No, but it's specifically a fat guy that likes to drink, and people like him.
Okay. So like the Bo Ride Show of the UFC.
I guess.
Yeah, that's a reference for you Mortal Kombat kids out there. But let's move on to the dude's Chambé. And we get the recap of the rules. And we start this match entrance-wise, and these entrances took a long time to get in. But dare I say, in a non-homosexual way, that Kevin Owens looks the best that he may ever have looked in the WWE, physically.
I feel like this battle between you and Kevin Owens' physique is always going to be eternal, and it's going to be a struggle, and it's never going to go away.
Well, what I'm saying here is I'm proud of him. Because he's put a lot of work in. He looks great. I think that this is probably
I get that, but
his outfit is looked based on his weight.
I'm just saying, this is a guy who is never going to change who he is.
Well,
he's always going to be fat. He's always going to be in the immortal words of Scott Steiner, fat.
Well, but the thing is that I feel like he is starting to put more work in to that end. Because he didn't look fat to me this night. He looked, he didn't have the body of an Adonis, but the cut t-shirt and shorts look, which I've never liked, looked probably the best it has ever looked on this night. And that's because Kevin Owens has been putting in some work. I don't know whether that's the weight room, or he's eating better, or he just has kids and he's just stressed losing pounds. I don't know what it is. But whatever you're doing, Kevin Owens, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate it and I respect it and I see you.
Also, his son is tall.
Yeah, that's what I've understood. But speaking of pops, how about the pop for Bobby Lashley?
For no reason.
For no reason. But does this not just go to show just how bungled Bobby Lashley has been since losing MVP to Omos and taking the Street Profits?
Yes, and thankfully, it appears that the Karrion Kross feud is over.
Well, I would sure as hell hope so, because it's very clear Bobby Lashley needs to be doing more important stuff. Because Bobby Lashley got actual cheers on this night. I was amazed. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. And did you notice that they mentioned Bobby Lashley winning the December to Dismember Elimination Chamber twice on this night?
I mean, that's their only talking point that they have.
But what a wild Elimination Chamber to use as a success accolade for Bobby Lashley. In 2006, he won the categorically, undeniably worst Elimination Chamber in history.
Well, listen. He won a chamber match. That's all that matters. We don't have to talk about the quality of the chamber match, but he won a chamber match.
I know. To the people who weren't familiar with that chamber match, I'm sure that added to the bit. But the people in the know, they must have gotten a little giggle out of that. Then comes Logan Paul, and this maybe was the moment I laughed the most all night. As Logan Paul goes up to Kevin Owens' pod and waves at him, and Kevin Owens just headbutts the glass like 4 times. And Logan Paul has to like recoil a little bit. It was so good. It was so funny. I don't know why that tickled me so much, but like Kevin Owens getting like that intensely in the mood to fight. It was so funny.
It's because who else but Kevin Owens would do something like that?
It makes me disappointed that there's a possibility that we're not going to get Kevin Owens at WrestleMania in anything important. I was hoping they'd keep doing this Logan Paul thing, but I don't think that's what they're planning.
I don't know what they're planning for Kevin Owens, but they need to have him do something after this work. I mean, we'll talk about this match, but it does kind of feel like the feud is kind of ending with him and Logan Paul.
Yeah, and I hope that DQ is not the way that feud ends, but it very well could be. But Orton still gets a wild pop, even though he took forever getting to his pod.
Listen, when there's no Roman Reigns, you have to give somebody the long entrance.
I know, but my God, this was next level. And but then LA Knight comes in.
LA Knight, yeah.
The funniest part about LA Knight is when he climbed on top of Orton's pod. And he did his thing with LA Knight, and he goes to get down, and Randy Orton, did you see this? Just goes up and he like pokes his shoe.
Yeah, he puts a finger in and pokes the shoe. It was like, funny. Boop.
I was like, I don't know why you did that, Randy, but I'm here for it.
Listen, Randy Orton's a troll. He's always been a troll. It's just that he's a funny troll.
I know. You just have to catch it because like you blink and you miss that moment. But that did make me laugh because like there was no reason for it. He's just like, bump. And then comes, well, I guess Drew McIntyre was then comes Drew, who is eventually the winner of this band.
Daddy Drew.
And I'll tell you something, man.
Daddies.
Drew got boos. He actually got boos from this crowd, which actually gets me happy because I love everything Drew McIntyre right now.
He's reinvented himself and is getting heat with the CM Punk shit,
which is the perfect way to do it. He really has just done a tremendous job, and if there's any person who deserves this matchup with Seth Rollins, it's this guy. It's definitely
100%.
And
100%. But like, here's the thing: as much as Drew getting the heat was satisfying to me, LA Knight getting the pop he did was even better.
Yeah, it goes to show that people are not giving up on him just because all these other stars are around.
I think what it does show is that, like, LA Knight will become a champion at some point. It's just like, we know what we got. We see you guys. We'll take care of it. Just, give us a little more time.
I think that they've made a very overt effort to demonstrate to us that even when LA loses, we're throwing the wall at this guy to keep him as strong as we humanly can when he gets his shoulders pinned to the mat. They've done that a couple times. The way LA Knight was eliminated in this match, one was about as strong as you can get somebody to be pinned in the chamber.
Which is good because, like, if you're going to do this thing where you're going to have LA Knight be one of the guys to look great, you have to make him look as strong as possible, even though you're denying the push. But I want to go back and let's begin this opening segment with Drew and LA Knight, because there's a couple of things to point out.
Yes, go for it.
So this opening segment, unlike the women's, they actually went at a decent pace. They didn't, go slowly. Do you know why? Because the men are better than the women. Is this sexist? No, it's just a thing of life. Deal with it.
Well, both of those things could be true, but I'm not disagreeing with you.
Agree with me. We have to agree that women suck.
I agree that the men started their match better than the women started their match. I agree with that statement.
Agree with me on my baseless point, though. No, I kid.
That was funny, Sky. That was good. Very good.
But in all seriousness, watching Drew and LA Knight do this, it just makes me feel better than what the women were doing. Not that the women were bad, but they just, the men are better at this. They have viable contenders. Any of these guys, if you could talk to me, would be a reasonable winner.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's you could see that every one of these guys has a case for winning this match, except maybe Logan Paul, just because he's the United States champion, so I kind of doubted that they were going to do something with him that quick, but
I mean, come on. Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins 2.0? 2.0.
I'd be down for it, but I'd be surprised if they did a title-for-title match that quick. But, in any case, it was still winnable. It was still winnable for everybody involved. And I think that also is partially why it feels like the men were better than the women. The talent pool was so much different and so much better. And that's kind of the difference there. But then they started really having problems getting this countdown clock in the right spot. They first put it in the middle of the screen, and then they put it in the bottom right of the screen, and then they just didn't have it there at all for the 10 seconds before the third pod came out. And then we got to talk about this lighting, Sky.
What, the shadows?
I don't know what was blocking that light, but it didn't happen.
It was one of the bars high up in the chamber that was blocking it.
Yeah, but this is what I don't understand. It didn't happen in the women's match.
Remember that the women's match happened in the daylight, and this was happening in the nighttime.
Oh, well, I guess that's a good point. And you'd think...
This is one of those things, kind of remember how WrestleMania 31, the match was done in the daylight, but then as the show kept going, things changed because it was going to a different time?
Yeah.
Same thing here.
Yeah, no, I guess that's a fair point, but still,
although it did create a couple of moments where there's cool shots where people's faces are hidden.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was a nightmare in the production truck because they're sitting there going, "We can't fucking see him. We need a shot of him. Just go to him. Just fucking go to him." I'm sure that was a nightmare in the production truck. So I do not envy the TV crew that had to put up with that shadow because that must have sucked.
Oh, it does whenever you have production things that are out of your control.
Yeah. As someone who has just enough knowledge to be dangerous about the subject, that must not have been fun. But then, I believe it was Drew McIntyre gave LA Knight a body slam, which Cole called a Michinoku driver.
Michael Cole was really bad at this point.
He wasn't great. Jet lag. It was jet lag. But then Drew McIntyre gets to the top rope and does a crossbody that looked beautifully clunky. It didn't look good. It looked clunky, but in a great, that probably hurt kind of way. And in comes Bobbert Lashley, and he gets chance. And
he looks goddamn like a monster.
And he looks great. And I gotta give him credit. I mean, this is somebody that I left this chamber match going, man, I want Bobby Lashley in better stuff.
Listen, we always have loved Bobby Lashley on this channel. Let us all say that we have all really supported Bobby Lashley over the years.
It's true. Yeah, I can't deny that.
It's just he gets dumbed into the dumbest possible things, and he doesn't say no. Bobby Lashley is too nice because he always gets in these stupid things that top stars should not be agreeing to do.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Like, between this, the shit with Lana and Rusev, the shit that happened with the Battle of the Billionaires back in the day.
The fact that Brock changed the finish of their own match because he didn't want to work with Bray Wyatt and Bobby was gonna. And, you know, it's but in any case, it was great seeing him do what he did in this match because he felt it was like he was just right back into it. And then Orton comes in and they immediately do a back injury spot.
To play off of the injury that he had that kept him out for a year and a half. And that was very good to, like, protect him in this match.
Well, what I also liked about this is that it happened so quickly into him getting in that for a minute I'm like, this is a work, right? This injury is a work. Because there's nobody coming in to look at him, right? He's not rolling out of the ring. Like, this is a work, right? But for that splittest of seconds, the timing of when he went down was confusing enough for me to actually wonder.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. There's something called selling. And I don't know if you know this, but Randy Orton is very good at doing something called selling, right?
I've never heard of it before.
Well, you must work for AEW then.
Yeah, I did. But then I graduated middle school. And so...
Again, the shade aside.
Yes.
Like, the fact that Randy Orton is good at his job is kind of like lost arts. I don't know what to tell you people.
Yeah, it's like every time but he did it for the splittest second. I'm like, did he really fuck his back up? And I was like, no, and he didn't. But he sold it like hell throughout the whole match. The spear through the pod got a huge pop.
I mean, Logan Paul took that like a champ.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he definitely did. And
again, this was the established Bobby Manley. Bobby Manley.
That he is.
He's a man.
He's a man.
A
Yes.
real man's man.
Lord Steven Regal is smiling from Bloodpool.
He's smiling from the Performance Center.
That's right. In a pool of blood. Anyway.
Gross.
But then, you know, we get I forget who the first... Was it Bobby that got pinned?
Yeah, because Drew does a Claymore. They roll Bobby into the ring. He fights a little bit more, and then he gets a second Claymore. And at this point, they do something where a bunch of the referees come in and check on Bobby Lashley, leaving the door open.
Yeah, and this is where I really got annoyed because as soon as they started doing this, you knew what they were doing. You knew what they were doing because this has been the only angle that they have done in Elimination Chamber for the past 6 Elimination Chambers. They just did it twice this time. And the doors open. They take forever and a goddamn day. AJ Styles comes in as LA Knight's about to hit somebody. And
he was hitting everybody with his BFTs. He hits Randy. He hits Drew. He hits Kevin. He does all this stuff and looks like $1 million, and then here comes AJ Styles. The one thing I'll give credit to is the fact that they didn't show AJ Styles at all in the material leading up to the show because he wasn't on the show. Right. And the fact that they flew him out all the way to Australia to do an angle.
Well, but it's an angle that I'm all for because AJ Styles beat the shit out of LA Knight with the chair and beat him down, and then the Styles clash onto the chair. You know, firmly setting up that they're planning on LA Knight versus AJ Styles at Mania, and my reaction to that is yes, please.
they're trying to backload this WrestleMania with matches that people are going to want to watch besides the main one, because they have to give some people, something to do that's not the Dre matches.
They've got a lot of stars to account for. It's a very strange problem for WWE to have, but they're going to have a hard time getting everybody that's important on the card because they've got so many now.
Which is why they have to do a battle royal or something in order to get people on the card. But the fact that they're doing LA Knight versus AJ Styles, which is legitimately a good match, that they have built themselves up over time. AJ Styles, when he came back, helped out Randy Orton and LA Knight and then clotheslined him. They had their issue at the Rumble. Then LA Knight cost AJ Styles a chance to go to the Elimination Chamber, so AJ Styles cost him here. It all makes sense.
Imagine that. And honestly, when you think about it, that's about as strong an exit, getting hit by that much and more, and then to have Drew just kind of roll over you for the cover. That's about as strong an exit you can get for LA Knight as possible.
Yep. Now, the next thing they do is they have Kevin Owens go over to Logan Paul's pod as it opens. And Logan Paul tries to hide in the pod. Kevin forces his way in and then starts beating his ass inside the pod.
Yeah, I did like that. That was nice.
By the way, you saw that video that I sent to you earlier today with showing you the Logan Paul stuff that he drew on his pod while he was waiting for the...
Kevin sucks and doing a big little fat... doing a fat little stick figure. That was pretty funny.
And then the devil horns, and then also they didn't show him draw it, but they did the cool S thing that every single middle schooler has ever done.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. And
I love the fact that our generation and other generations of people's experiences with technology and everything has always changed, but everyone still does the cool S and claims that they did it first.
I like how Logan Paul is basically just like, he really is just a representation of like the average grab bag millennial. And it just makes it, but it just makes me laugh. And he's sitting there waiting, and instead of like trying to focus on his opponent or like trying to get into the minds of other people, no, let me just draw like some stick figures like he's not listening to the teacher in the middle of class. It kills me up. It cracks me up.
But real life, he's like that. He's a real life version of that gimmick, which is what makes it so good.
It's why it translates so well to the WWE atmosphere. He gets it in that respect.
I mean, again, there's still things that he did that were a little green in this match. I think his timing was still a little bit off. But my God, this dude, if he stays healthy, motivated, and wants to do this, give him the world title in the next 5 years.
He might. He definitely could. You can't deny it. He definitely has got the potential for it. He's got the skill for it. He's got the personality for it. And he's got the star power for it to draw money. And
again, he eliminated Kevin Owens in this match. Wait, no, he didn't eliminate Kevin Owens.
No, and that's kind of what made me think that they're pretty much done. Because Drew eliminates Kevin Owens.
Although Logan Paul helps doing that.
Yes. And there got to be a really funny point where all three men are down, Drew, Orton, and Logan Paul, and every time they cut to Logan Paul, the crowd would boo, and then it'd be Drew, and then it'd be Orton, then they cut to Logan Paul, and everybody would boo again. It was really funny. I was like, wow, this Australia crowd, they definitely know who the heels are.
Right, and then Logan Paul he tries to eliminate Randy and Drew. He can't do it, so he has to grab the knuckles.
Yep.
And then he takes way too long puffing his chest out. And again, this is probably the best implementation. Yeah, wait. I can't say the word.
Implementation. I got you.
Thank you. He does that.
Yep.
He does that where he's standing in the shadow and you can see his face, but half of his face is obscured by the shadow, making it look like an anime villain.
Yep.
And Randy Orton with his RKO out of nowhere, and this was one of the best shot RKO out of nowheres.
Yeah. Well, and you had to know
the way that Logan Paul sold this was also great.
Yeah, and you had to know Logan Paul had to be marking out to get an RKO out of nowhere to be the way that pinned him. That had to have been, he had to have been happy about that.
Let us not forget that Logan Paul is on a track record of feuding with every single person that he has on his podcast.
Well, and let me tell you something. With this matchup that they're planning, because, you know, the end of this match where they once again take forever and a goddamn day to open the cell and to try to get Logan Paul out, which is how you kind of saw the finish of this coming. But, like, the fact that they're planning on Logan Paul versus Randy Orton, it seems, Randy Orton is going to do wonders for the in-ring of Logan Paul. I bet you. It's going to be a great match, and I think Logan Paul's going to come out of it a much wiser wrestler.
It's just too bad that this is not Kevin Owens, obviously, but, like, I think it's a better match for Mania.
I think it's better in the long run for Logan Paul and his career. I think there's time for them to rekindle him and Kevin Owens. But
but again, like, but having said that, again, like, this is a Mania match that has the potential. The question is, does Logan Paul win or does Randy Orton win? Is the U.S. title on the line? I'm not sure.
It almost doesn't matter to me. Like, because the prospect of the match itself is plenty. You know, I think that it's going to be very good. I think it's going to be very good, and I think it's going to be a slower match, which we haven't really seen Logan do, but I think it's going to help him kind of slow some things down. Not that he needs much help, but...
Wait, are you accusing Randy Orton of wrestling slow matches?
I think that his slower style is going to very much benefit Logan Paul's overall working ability.
Again, are you implying that Randy Orton goes very slow and forever and slow and forever?
And I don't think that's a bad thing now. I think that with the fast pace that most modern wrestling has taken, we need guys like Randy slowing it down.
I'm only half kidding, but for real, the one thing I will complain about Randy Orton is that it feels for fucking ever.
Well, he is the king of milk. Call him a milk snake. Cause he's not a viper, he's a milk snake. Cause he'll sit there and milk forever. He always has. He always has done that.
Okay, we are not taking that audio. JoshAgeddon is not taking the audio, like...
Yeah, no, you better put that in. You better add a little extra something to that. That's some whole milk right there.
Milk that viper titty for all its milk.
That's right. That's right. Milk those viper titties. So the brass knucks, you know, as Orton is about to be Drew.
Just imagine that Randy Orton titty milk.
Well, we'll sell it on eBay, and
it'll come out of nowhere.
That's right. That one almost slipped by me, but no, that was good.
Anyway, speaking of out of nowhere, speaking of Joshua, what do you have to say?
Oh, well, yeah. So the end of this is that Logan Paul hits Orton with the brass knucks, knocks it out. Drew hits a Claymore 1, 2, 3, and that's the end of it.
And now Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins, and hopefully Drew wins.
He better. But let's go on to JoshAgeddon's take. This was by far the best thing on the whole show. It was intense, physical, and set up multiple interesting paths for many people heading into Mania, which is exactly what the Chamber should do. My favorite spot of the match and of the night was Lashley spearing Logan Paul through the pod. Just beautiful. Also, Bobby Lashley gave someone a flatliner in this match, and Cole called it an inverted DDT. I did catch that, but I didn't write it down.
Michael Cole was terrible all night.
Michael Cole was giving me AEW Jim Ross vibes during this show, but without the disdain for his own product. Because he was misnaming moves the entire show. There's also a gratuitous use of the caps lock in this particular note-taking, but that's an editorialized note. I can't wait until this fucker retires. Also, Logan Paul was fucking hilarious during this match, especially when he was doodling Kevin Sucks on the Chamber pod. And my god, Randy Orton's selling of his back was immaculate, again with gratuitous use of the caps locks. He legit had people thinking he was seriously injured because he's so damn good at what he does. Randy's wife is a lucky woman, let me tell you. Drew winning was predictable, but it was the obvious and correct choice. This show was very predictable as a whole, but predictable does not automatically mean bad. Sometimes an outcome is predictable because it's the only one that makes sense. This match ruled 2 thumbs and 2 big toes up, which is more than I gave this. All in all, I thought this match was good, just a chamber match.
There's very much a thing where these B pay-per-view gimmicks are going to have to either go away or they're just going to have to reinvent how they do them. And I don't know how you reinvent doing them because, like, Money in the Bank, Chamber, TLC, Extreme Rules, we've seen all of this so many times. It's oversaturated. But again, it's wrestling.
I know, well, that's why it'd be nice to kind of just take all these gimmicks back and use them for their intended purpose, which is when a feud calls for it. But then we move on to the main event of the evening, which is something I cannot believe I'm still saying in regards to this matchup, but it is for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. Rhea Ripley, the hometown hero, versus Nia Jax, the irresistible force. Another Samoan
Sean,
in the main
I have a
event.
question for you.
What a surprise.
I have a question for you about Nia Jax.
What's that?
Now, this is not confirmed, but did you know that she's not like most girls?
I had heard a rumor, but I did. All I saw was it was posted on. It was posted by Dave Meltzer, so you can only take that for what it's worth. But even when The Rock isn't main eventing a show, he's main eventing a show somehow. This time with Nia Jax. But I will say, to the credit of WWE, they were very much not in your face about it. They actually didn't really mention majorly at all, like, this is the first time an international match is having a women's match as a main event, and like, you know how they normally do that where they like pat themselves on the back for trailblazing? They didn't do that this time, and I appreciate that. They just let the main event be the main event and let it sell itself.
Maybe that's just Vince McMahon's like obsession with getting things over and his hyperbole shit going away, and maybe Triple H will be calmer.
Well, it was nice. It was nice to kind of not have that be such a direct focus of like, look how progressed we are, in correcting.
Look how progressive we are. Just don't pay attention to anything that happens backstage.
That's right. Just look at Finn Balor's WrestleMania tights. That's all you need to look at. But I'm really glad that Rhea Ripley is getting a main event after it felt like she did nothing with that title last year. Not because of any fault of her own. It's just they were doing.
They gave her something to do besides having one match with Charlotte.
Well, exactly. And thankfully she can talk enough, and her stuff with Dom was enough to keep her relevant and important throughout all of that. But it's nice to see her getting this moment. And considering what she put together here with the agents and with Nia Jax, Rhea Ripley deserves more main events, and she deserves recognition as maybe one of the best working wizards that wrestling has right now.
But again, and I'll say this, there's not much competition in the women's division.
No, I will agree, but I will counter with this. How many other women could have this kind of a match with Nia? Don't say Bayley.
Besides Bayley, no.
The only reason I say Bayley, because that's the only other match of Nia Jax's I really liked, was the match with her and Bayley in NXT.
Which again, even when Bayley was younger, she could do that. So,
Yeah. Oh, that match was so expertly put together. That one there. And so was this one. I actually, believe it or not, this was my favorite thing on the show.
But that's because you're a whore for singles matches.
Well, I can't deny that. But I will also say this match was structured very well. I do genuinely think that despite the fact that Rhea Ripley is basically gothic Australian Bret Hart, that Nia Jax has improved quite substantially from the last time I saw her in a singles match. Is she perfect? No. Is she great? No. Does she still squish people for real? I'm pretty sure she does.
Yes, but we'd like seeing her squish that ass. I don't know.
But it was better. It was genuinely better. First of all, I do like that Nia Jax uses Rikishi's stink face as a heel move. That she just squishes her ass into somebody in the corner. but not as like a joke, but done as like a means of like suffocating her opponent. It works for Nia. It's a silly move, but it's an homage to a relative, and it fits. It fits. Rhea Ripley's cake game was very strong on this evening. And she is a wonderfully beautiful woman. Collar and elbow tie-up, eye squeeze.
Oh my god.
It's, well, hey, this is the one and only one that, well, no, I guess we got one with Becky and Naomi, didn't we?
2 for 4.
How is it that the women did it and the men did, anyway?
Well, one was a hot start, and the men, I don't remember if they did it in the men's chamber or not.
They did a kind of hot start, but kind of the same idea. But then Nia Jax does this sad attempt at a stretch muffler. And
it made Brock Lesnar sad.
well, listen, Nia, the idea wasn't bad, but if you're going to do that, you have to basically stick your neck right in the crevice of the knee. And you have to have that so then when your arm comes up and over the leg and cups up over the heel, you could basically use your left hand to grab the ass of the person. The right hand is on the leg, and your neck is right at that juncture so that when you lift, you've got the fulcrum of their weight so that then Rhea can use her hands and kind of sell it, you know, that way, so you're not really carrying all of that woman's weight on your neck. But you can't just do that and put your head on her calf. That's never going to work. Don't do shit you don't know how to do, baby.
As the Dream would like to say.
Yes. And then maybe one of my favorite miscommunication jokes of the whole night happened. We get the "my hole" chants from Australia. And they say, my hole, and they're clapping. And Michael Cole says, these people here in Australia are trying to rally the champion. Yeah, you got it, Cole. You nailed it. That's almost as good as where Let's Go Brandon originated.
Oh my god.
It's that kind of miscommunication that this was. It was so funny. It was, oh man. Yeah, my hole is chanting in support of Rhea Ripley. And
yeah, I will allow you to rephrase that.
I refuse. And so we move on in the match, and then I have to give Nia Jax credit for another thing. Nia Jax is on the second rope, going to do her Annihilator or whatever it is, and Rhea Ripley hits the rope, and Nia Jax slips and catches herself for that double stomp that it's eventually going to be, or that slingshot drop kick, or I don't know what you would call that Rhea Ripley did, where she jumped from the apron and double stomped Nia onto the ground.
It looked like it hurt.
It looked like it hurt, but props to Nia for being able to catch herself. That was a athletic move I didn't anticipate Nia would be able to pull off. Again, she has gotten better. It's become popular to hate on Nia Jax, but this is a better Nia Jax than maybe any iteration we have ever had.
Yes, but unfortunately I have to say this. Lowest bar.
Low bar, but I will still give her credit. And also, Rhea Ripley being the amazing seller that she is, being the way that she's able to use her body language and move around the ring and really close the gap and really sell what Nia was giving to her, that made it. That Rhea carried Nia through this match. Let's not get anything confused here. Right? You know what I mean? Like, Nia held up her own, but this was Rhea Ripley's demonstration that she can work a match with a broomstick if she wanted to.
I mean, she basically had to, because that's Nia's knees.
Yeah, that is Nia's knees. But it was well put together. It was paced well. It structurally made sense. Nia got heat. She took time to pause and get boos. So she had some level of timing to it. And then when Rhea started making the comeback, Nia Jax did the only acceptable turnbuckle bump on the whole night. Because she charged into it and she went headfirst into that buckle and sold it like $1 million. And I'm like, why does it take Nia Jax to demonstrate how to sell a turnbuckle bump?
Maybe because her head is so thick that she can safely take the bump, but other people cannot.
And you're telling me Damian Priest's head is not thick with all that fucking blue-ass braided hair? What was his excuse?
Just because he has a big head doesn't mean it's a thick head.
Tiffany Stratton, I could give the benefit of the doubt she's green. What was Damian Priest's excuse? He has none. Mr. Money in the Bank has no excuse. Nia Jax did it great, though. She sold that turnbuckle bump. And then we get the Edsturbation counter.
Which was disappointing.
Well, the Frog Splash was so-so, but what was the need to bring up Eddie Guerrero in this match? What predicated that?
There wasn't.
There wasn't. So why do it? I thought we were past this. We were moving past this.
I mean, the thing is that, like, at least they didn't. Did Michael Cole say his name?
He said, just like Eddie. Yes, he did. I said, why? I'm like, what is the... We don't do this for other wrestlers. Someone does a leg drop, we don't say, just like Hulk.
Well, that's because Eddie Guerrero didn't make a secret tape where he's talked about black people badly.
Well, but you understand my point.
Unless it was against Booker T, but that's a whole other story.
Well, let's see. Well, Booker T's coming for him, but he ain't Little John Ho. But in any case, so then they spill out onto the outside, and I was with this. I was with this match, and I'm like, oh yeah, we haven't done an announce table spot, we haven't done a barricade spot, and I will say, this office chair elbow from Nia Jax was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Like, without even seeing her do this, you knew what was gonna happen. She gets up on that office chair, and you knew the second she tries to jump off, that chair's going right behind her. And it just goes right up.
As if there was any doubt.
She gets like a half an inch of distance and just lays her arm over Rhea, and the whole thing falls because of the weight of the two individuals. And it was like, well, you tried. A for effort. But that's about as much as that got. And then they finally get back into the ring, and Nia goes for her Annihilator and sat on Rhea's chest for real. This was not Yokozuna.
Fulfilling the dreams of every man everywhere and getting massive amounts of heat.
Yeah, but I will say this. This was not Yokozuna and the Banzai drop. It was... They got to that point. Nia Jax did her Annihilator. Rhea kicked out. Nia was surprised. So Nia's going to go to the top rope, and then we get the superplex. I will say this. That superplex looked like the struggle it was.
Because it was very much a struggle.
Because it was very much a struggle. But I was cool with it, because then the finish on top of that of Rhea getting Nia up and hitting a big riptide and still doing the dominant I'm the top pose, even on Nia Jax getting the 1, 2, 3. The finish of this was perfect. This was a great match. Nia Jax was in a great match with Rhea Ripley.
Okay, but let's be clear about something. I don't want to see them try to do this again.
Oh, me either. Me either. No, don't get me wrong. Once was plenty. I don't need a rematch. But for this matchup, for this main event that they had where this could have sucked, they delivered.
Now, what did JoshAgeddon feel? Did he feel that they delivered?
Well, let's find out. On one hand, Rhea Ripley main eventing a pay-per-view is fantastic. She more than deserves it. On the other hand, Nia Jax main eventing anything gives me uncontrollable diarrhea. Seriously, I may have contracted dysentery. That said, this is by far the best match Nia has ever had, which again is not saying much at all. This was a basic, idiot-proof match that Rhea was selling her back, because I can imagine carrying Nia is comparable to the Titan Atlas holding up the fucking sky. This was solid, and I'm glad they used Nia to make Rhea look like a world beater in her home country. Now fire Rhea again before she kills somebody. This was a wonderful...
Wait, hold on. Fire Rhea or fire Nia?
Fire Nia. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
I'm about to say, like, dude, like...
Yeah. Now fire...
You gotta be careful there, Michael Cole.
Now fire Nia again before she kills somebody. This was a wonderful moment for Rhea, and I'm very happy for her. So... Now,
well, what did JoshAgeddon have to say about the whole show?
Now, finally, to close out what he's got to say, and then we'll get to the ratings of this son of a bitch. This was not the most amazing show ever, but the atmosphere definitely enhanced it. Despite the tag match and the talk show segment being kind of ass, I enjoyed the show overall. I give it a solid 7 and highly recommend the Men's Chamber as it's by far the best thing on the show. Now we wait for WrestleMania 40 with bated breath. Will they do the right thing and have Cody finally finish his motherfucking story so we can all move on with our lives, or is WWE once again going to WWE? My money is on WWE being WWE because this company has fucked us over so many times, and I refuse to fall for it again. As Hawkeye said in the Avengers Endgame, don't give me hope. With that overwhelmingly optimistic sentiment in mind, I must bid you two sexy sluts adieu. Like, comment, and subscribe to the Court Martial Podcast and the Super Jam Session V2, as we have some more content coming out in the coming weeks, and be sure to watch my usual shenanigans over on TAW Gaming. JoshAgeddon out. So with that said, what is your ratings for this show, the Elimination Chamber 2024?
I don't think this was a bad show, question mark. The hard part is that this show didn't do enough favors to reach any sort of like high.
Yeah.
When I give this number, I want to be very clear. I don't think this was a bad show, but this was entirely Dragon Ball Z / anime filler skip. You didn't have to watch this show in order to get the main story of what they're going to do at Mania.
Yeah, this is like in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime when there's ever like a duel that's 6 episodes long. You could skip episodes 2, 3, and 4 and be fine. This was episodes 2, 3, and 4.
Right, and again, with that in mind, I'm going with a 5. A 5 is not a bad score. It's just, it's an honest score, and they mailed it in. Knowing that they did not have the matches or the guys available that they really needed in order to have a good match, they mailed this one in. Again, it's not a bad thing. It just kind of shows what they were hoping to do was not what they could do.
Right, and you know, and I'm kind of in the same boat with you, Sky. This show was fine for what was given. But what was given was just fine. I didn't really think anything really was majorly, you have to go back and watch this, with the exception of Rhea and Nia, just in case you said somebody on the street, hey, Nia Jax had a good match, and they said, you're fucking lying, and then you have to show them this. You know, but is that one singles match between Rhea and Nia really enough to say that this show was, like, good? Not really. I think this show was mid. It progressed everything along as it should. The Men's Chamber did what it was supposed to, but with the same tactics that have been used so often that it's lost its luster and it's lost its appeal. To me, the gimmick has. But the singles match was fine. The tag match was, and the women's match at the beginning was also, and just to me. This was, I'm not going to give it a 5 because I don't think it was that bad, but I'm going to give it a 5.5. You know, it's like, nothing on this was terribly offensive or rage-inducing. But at the same time, did we need this pay-per-view necessarily? Not really. But that's kind of the way that these in-between Rumble and Mania shows often end up being anyway. So I'm not really complaining. It's just another part of the process, another step on the road, as they say. So, and that's not bad. You know, the fact that JoshAgeddon rated this as high as he did, and the fact that we were as low as we were is kind of surprising. But you know what? It's a new day in WWE. The New Day are not involved, mostly. And now we wait for Mania. What do you think, Scott?
It does feel like, though, we are getting to the point of, like, okay, they're shaping up a decent WrestleMania as long as they do it right.
Yeah, they gotta walk. They're walking a fine line, as has been said before. But if they can walk that line and end up on the other side the way they should, then they could shut a lot of people up, including us. But we won't know that until we get there. So with that said, folks, we might do something in between. We might not. We're not sure yet. But Sky, thank you for watching Elimination Chamber and painting yourself through all of that.
And one more thing. I was not going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to watch a pay-per-view.
Oh,
Thank
neither
you.
was I. Neither was I. So, hope you got your fill, Australia. See you in another 3 or 4 years. But until then, folks, we'll be right back right after this.